She didn't fall in love with the wrong man. She just learned too late that love and safety are not the same thing. The man she was going to marry knew how to protect her future. The man she never chose knew how to read her silence. And when he walked back into her life, she understood something terrifying. Some people arrive late, not because they were wrong, but because we weren't ready to lose everything else. If you've ever chosen safety over truth, this story already knows you. It meets everyone somewhere different. The engagement ring caught light in a way that made Soyeon look down at it too often. Not admiring, checking, as if to confirm it was still there, still real, still the right choice materialized in white gold and a single diamond that Juno had chosen himself after asking her mother what she thought Soyeon would like. Her mother had been right. Soyeon did like it. She liked Juno too. He worked in structural engineering. He left his shoes aligned by the door. He asked her about her day and remembered when she had meetings. When they went to dinner with his parents, he ordered for her without asking, but he always ordered what she would have chosen anyway. It felt like care. Maybe it was care. They'd been together 3 years. The proposal came at the Han River evening, with her sister hiding nearby to take photos. Soyeon had cried. She thought that meant something. Now, 2 months later, she worked late most nights at the Cultural Foundation where she coordinated artist residencies. Juno texted at 7 to ask if she'd eaten. She always said yes even when she hadn't. She was 29. He was 32. The wedding was set for May. Everything was on schedule. If this story already feels familiar, you're not alone. You're welcome here. The foundation was hosting a 6-month ceramics residency. Soyeon had reviewed 40 applications, cross-referenced budgets, argued with the director about spatial logistics. It wasn't the art she loved. It was the structure around it, making sure someone else's vision had room to exist. The selected artist was a sculptor from Accra. Male. 41. The foundation had worked with him once before, 7 years ago, during a group exhibition on diasporic material memory. Soyeon had been an intern then. She'd logged artwork dimensions and fetched coffee and never spoke to the artists directly. She didn't remember his name until she saw it on the contract. Kofi Mensah. Then she remembered all of it. 7 years ago, she'd been 22. The foundation had been smaller. The group exhibition had taken over both gallery floors, 11 artists, dozens of pieces, installation work that required constant recalibration. Soyeon's supervisor had been perpetually absent. Soyeon had been the one on site most days, which meant she was the one the artists came to when they needed an extra ladder, a different light source, someone to hold the other end of a measuring tape. Kofi's work had been large-scale ceramic figures. Bodies fractured and reassembled with visible seams. He'd spent hours arranging them, stepping back, shifting them inches at a time. She'd watched him once from the doorway. He hadn't noticed. Later that week, she'd been eating lunch alone in the staff room. He'd come in looking for the director. Soyeon had told him the director was out. He'd nodded, started to leave, then stopped. "You're here every day," he'd said. "I work here." "No, I mean, you're always here." "Early." "Late." She hadn't known what to say to that. He'd smiled a little. "Me too." After that, they'd started talking. Small exchanges during installation. He'd ask her opinion on placement even though she had no formal training. She'd tell him what she thought, hesitant at first, then more honestly. He'd listen in a way that made her feel like her answers mattered. One evening, they'd both stayed past midnight. The exhibition opened in 2 days. His pieces still weren't finished. She'd helped him sand the rough edges on one of the figures. Her hands had cramped. He'd noticed before she said anything. "You don't have to do this," he'd said. "I know." But she'd kept going. They'd talked while they worked. About why he made fractured bodies. About why she'd chosen arts administration instead of making art herself. She'd told him she didn't think she had anything urgent enough to say. He'd looked at her for a long moment. "Maybe urgency isn't the requirement," he'd said. She'd thought about that for weeks afterward. The exhibition had opened. It had been successful. He'd returned to Accra. She'd gone back to data entry and calendar management. She'd thought about him sometimes. Not often. Not in any way that required action. Just sometimes. Now his name was on her desk again, and she was engaged, and it had been 7 years, and probably he didn't remember her at all. The residency was scheduled to start in 2 weeks. Soyeon prepared the studio space, ordered materials, drafted the welcome email. She kept her language professional. Neutral. Juno asked her how work was going. Busy, she said. You're always busy. It wasn't quite a complaint. More an observation. It's residency season, she said. He nodded. He kissed her forehead. He asked if she wanted to look at venues for the rehearsal dinner. She said sure. Kofi arrived on a Thursday. Soyeon had planned to send an assistant to meet him at the studio, but the assistant called in sick, and the director was in a funding meeting, so Soyeon went herself. She got there early. Checked that the kiln was functional, that the ventilation system was running, that the supply order had been delivered. Everything was in place. She heard the door open behind her. When she turned, he was standing in the entrance, a weathered canvas bag over one shoulder. Older now. Gray threading through his hair at the temples. The same careful way of looking at his face before entering it fully. He saw her. For a moment, neither of them moved. Soyeon, he said. Not a question. He remembered. Welcome back, she said. Her voice came out steady. Professional. He stepped inside, set his bag down. Looked around the studio with the same slow attention she remembered. It's bigger than last time, he said. We expanded 2 years ago. He nodded. Walked over to the kiln, ran his hand along the edge of it. She watched him take inventory. He'd always done that. Touched things to understand them. You're still here, he said, not looking at her. I'm the residency coordinator now. That's good. Silence. She should say something else. Ask about his flight. Go over the schedule. Offer to show him the apartment the foundation had arranged. Instead, she just stood there. He turned toward her. You helped me install those pieces. The fractured figures. I remember. You had good instincts. I just held things. No, he said quietly. You saw what they needed. She didn't know what to do with that. The apartment is 10 minutes from here, she said. I can walk you over. Okay. She led him out. They walked side by side. She pointed out the cafe the artists liked, the supply shop, the convenience store that stayed open late. He listened. Asked a few questions. Normal questions. But something about the way he walked next to her, not too close, not trying to fill the silence, felt like a continuation of a conversation they'd never finished. At the apartment building, she handed him the keys. If you need anything, she said, my number's in the welcome packet. Thank you. He looked at her again. That same long look from 7 years ago. She should leave. I'll check in next week, she said. Make sure everything's working. Okay. She turned to go. Soyeon. She stopped. It's good to see you. She nodded. Didn't trust herself to say it back. She told Juno that night that the ceramics artist had arrived. The one from Ghana? Juno asked. Accra. Yes. That's a long program. 6 months. Yes. He scrolled through his phone while they ate. She watched him across the table. He'd showered after work. His hair was still damp. He wore the gray sweater she'd bought him for his birthday. Do you ever think about what you'd be doing if you weren't an engineer? She asked. He looked up. Why? Just curious. He thought about it. Maybe architecture. Something related. Nothing completely different? Like what? She didn't know. Never mind. He reached across the table, squeezed her hand. You okay? Just tired. You should sleep. She nodded. Later, in bed, he fell asleep quickly. She lay awake listening to him breathe. Even, steady. Reliable. She thought about hands cramping while sanding ceramic. About someone noticing before she said anything. She turned over. Closed her eyes. She didn't see Kofi for 5 days. He worked in the studio alone. She knew because the sign-in logs showed his hours. Early mornings. Late evenings. The same pattern from before. She had no reason to check on him. Everything was functioning. He hadn't requested anything. On the 6th day, she went to the studio anyway. She told herself it was a routine check. She did this for all residents. She didn't. He was wedging clay at the work table when she arrived. His hands moved with a rhythm that seemed meditative. He didn't notice her at first. She knocked lightly on the open door. He looked up. Something shifted in his expression. Not quite a smile. Routine check, she said. Everything's good. She stepped inside. Walked slowly around the space. There were sketches pinned to the wall. New pieces in progress on the shelves. The same fractured aesthetic, but different now. More about voids than breaks. These are beautiful, she said. They're not finished. Still. He wiped his hands on his apron. You want tea? I brought some from home. She should say no. She had a meeting in an hour. Okay, she said. He boiled water on the small hot plate in the corner. Made 2 cups. Handed her one. The tea was rooibos, earthy, and slightly sweet. They sat on the stools near the window. How's it been so far? She asked. Quiet. Good. You're keeping the same hours. He smiled a little. You noticed. It's in the logs. Right. They drank tea. Outside, someone was trimming the hedges. The sound of the shears was rhythmic, almost soothing. Are you working on anything specific? She asked. Or just exploring? Both. There's an idea I've been sitting with for a while. About absence. How it has shape. Like negative space? Sort of. More like how what's missing becomes part of the structure. You can see it. Feel it. She thought about that. I'm engaged, she said. She hadn't planned to say it. Kofi looked at her. Not surprised. Just still. Congratulations, he said quietly. Thank you. Silence. What's his name? Juno. What does he do? Structural engineer. Kofi nodded. That's good. Stable. Yes. More silence. Are you happy? He asked. The question was so gentle it hurt. Yes. He's good to me. Kofi didn't say anything to that. Just looked at her with that same careful attention. She stood up. I should go. Okay. She left the tea half-finished. Juno's parents invited them to dinner that weekend. His mother cooked. Too much food, as always. His father asked Soyeon about the wedding plans. Venue. Flowers. Guest count. She answered everything correctly. Juno's mother showed her photos of dresses she'd seen online. You'd look beautiful in this style, she said, pointing to a fitted silhouette with lace sleeves. It's lovely, Soyeon said. Juno smiled at her across the table. Proud. Comfortable. After dinner, they washed dishes together. His mother talked about honeymoon destinations. Juno suggested Jeju. Soyeon agreed. On the drive home, he held her hand. They love you, he said. I know. My mom's excited about the wedding. I can tell. Are you excited? She looked at him. He was watching the road, relaxed. Of course, she said. He squeezed her hand. She started going to the studio more often. Not every day. Not in any way that would draw attention. But when she had gaps in her schedule, she found herself walking that direction. Usually Kofi was working. She'd stay for a few minutes. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they just existed in the same space. He never asked her to stay longer. She always left before she wanted to. One afternoon, she arrived while he was firing a piece. He was watching through the kiln window, monitoring the temperature. Can I watch? She asked. It's not very exciting. I don't mind. They stood side by side. The heat from the kiln made the air waver. What does it feel like? She asked. Watching something transform and not being able to control it? Terrifying, he said. Necessary. She looked at him. He kept his eyes on the kiln. You have to let go at a certain point. Trust the process. Even if it means losing the piece. Do you lose them often? Often enough. The kiln timer beeped. He adjusted the temperature. She watched his hands. Steady. Sure. Why clay? She asked. Why not clay? That's not an answer. He smiled. It remembers. Every touch. Every pressure. You can't fake your way through it. That sounds hard. It is. They stood there until the firing cycle finished. She'd been there almost an hour. She hadn't noticed. When she left, he walked her to the door. Soyeon. She turned. You don't have to keep checking on me, he said. I'm fine. I know. But you can. If you want. She didn't answer. Just nodded. She started noticing things. The way Juno organized the silverware drawer by frequency of use. How he scheduled their dates 2 weeks in advance. The efficiency in how he planned everything. It wasn't bad. It was thoughtful. But she realized she'd started editing herself around it. Not suggesting spontaneous plans because it disrupted his system. Not mentioning when she wanted to stay out late because he liked being home by 10. Small adjustments. Reasonable. Except they'd accumulated into something larger. One night, she suggested they go to a jazz bar she'd heard about. On a weeknight, he asked. Why not? I have an early meeting. We don't have to stay long. He looked at her, confused. Is something wrong? No. I just wanted to do something different. We can go this weekend. I'll add it to the calendar. She nodded. They didn't go that weekend. His colleague had a birthday dinner. She didn't bring it up again. Kofi had been at the foundation for 6 weeks when he invited her to see a piece he'd finished. It was late afternoon. She'd been about to leave. Only if you have time, he said. She had dinner plans with Juno. She should say no. Okay, she said. The piece was on the center work table. A ceramic torso, life-sized. Hollow. The entire structure was built around an absence where the heart would be. Not a hole. A carefully constructed void that you could see through to the other side. She walked around it slowly. It's about longing, he said quietly. How it doesn't fill space. It creates it. She stood in front of the piece. If she leaned forward slightly, she could see through the void to where Kofi stood on the other side. It's the best thing you've made, she said. How would you know? I just do. He came around to her side. Stood next to her. You should make something, he said. I told you. I don't have anything to say. Maybe you do, and you're just not listening. She looked at him. He was watching her with that steady attention that made her feel seen and exposed at once. I should go, she said. Okay. She didn't move. Soyeon. What? He hesitated. Nothing. Be safe. She left 20 minutes late. Texted Juno that she'd gotten caught up at work. He replied with a thumbs up. At dinner, he told her about a project he was leading. A bridge design. She listened. Asked questions at the right moments. You seem distracted, he said. Sorry. Long day. Wanna leave? No. I'm fine. They finished dinner. He paid. They walked to the car holding hands. She thought about voids having shape. Some stories don't ask for your attention. They ask for your honesty. If this moment is touching something personal, sit with it. She stopped by the studio one evening without any excuse. Kofi was sketching at the table. He looked up when she came in. Hi, she said. Hi. She sat on the stool across from him. I don't know why I'm here. He set down his pencil. Okay. I have a good life. A good person. Everything is, it's all correct. He waited. But I feel like I'm performing something, she said. Like there's a version of me that fits correctly into everything, and I'm just maintaining her. And when you're not maintaining her? She looked at him. I don't know who I am. Kofi leaned back. Studied her face. I think you know exactly who you are, he said. You're just scared of what that means. I'm engaged. I know. I can't. This isn't fair to him. What isn't? She gestured between them. At the space. At whatever this was. I haven't done anything wrong, she said. I didn't say you had. Then why does it feel like I have? He looked at her for a long time. Because you know this means something, he said quietly. And knowing that changes everything. She felt something crack open in her chest. I should go, she said. This time he just nodded. She stood. Made it to the door. 7 years ago, she said, not turning around. When you left. Did you think about me after? Silence. Then, yes. She closed her eyes. I think about that night we installed your pieces, she said. More than I should. Me too. She left without looking back. She couldn't sleep that night. Juno was beside her, deep in sleep. She watched the ceiling. Thought about clay remembering every touch. About structures built around absence. She got up. Went to the bathroom. Looked at herself in the mirror. She looked the same. Neat. Composed. The version everyone knew. But underneath, something restless. Something that wanted more than correct. She went back to bed. Lay awake until dawn. She avoided the studio for a week. Buried herself in work. Confirmed vendor contracts. Reviewed grant applications. Stayed late every night. Juno noticed. You're exhausted, he said. I'm fine. You're not sleeping. I have a lot going on. Take a day off. I can't. He looked at her with concern. Gentle. Caring. Soyeon. What's wrong? Nothing. You can talk to me. Could she? She tried to imagine explaining it. The way someone from 7 years ago had reappeared and made her question everything without doing anything except exist near her. The way safety suddenly felt like suffocation. I'm just stressed about the wedding, she said. It was easier than the truth. He softened. Pulled her into a hug. We can push back the date if you need more time. No. It's fine. Are you sure? Yes. He kissed her forehead. I love you. I love you too. She said it automatically. The way she always did. But for the first time, she wondered if love was supposed to require so much effort to maintain. Kofi showed up at her office. She looked up from her desk, startled. Can we talk? He asked. I'm working. Please. She closed her laptop. Okay. He came in. Shut the door. Stood near the window. I'm not trying to complicate your life, he said. You're not. Yes, I am. She didn't argue. I should have said something 7 years ago, he said quietly. Before I left. Said what? He looked at her. That I saw you. Really saw you. And that scared me because I was leaving and you were young and it felt wrong to say anything. Her chest tightened. Why are you telling me this now? Because you asked if I thought about you after. And you have a career and a life in Accra and I do. So what is this? He was quiet for a moment. I don't know, he said. But I know I can't keep pretending this is just professional courtesy. I'm engaged, Kofi. I know. I'm getting married in 4 months. I know. Then what do you want from me? Nothing, he said. I don't want anything. He stopped. Ran a hand over his hair. I just needed you to know that this isn't one-sided, he said. Whatever you're feeling. You're not imagining it. She stood up. Crossed the small office. Stood in front of him. You can't say things like that to me. I know. It's not fair. I know. I've built a whole life. I know. They stood there. Too close. Not touching. I think about that night too, he said quietly. The installation. Your hands cramping. The way you didn't stop working even though you were exhausted. Don't. The way you looked at my pieces like they mattered. Kofi. You saw what they needed. You saw what I needed. She was shaking. I can't do this, she said. Okay. I have to go. Okay. She moved past him. Out the door. Down the hall. Out of the building. She walked for an hour. No destination. Just movement. When she finally stopped, she was at the river. She sat on a bench. Watched the water. Her phone buzzed. Juno asking if she wanted to get dinner. She stared at the message. Typed, can't tonight. Work thing. He sent back a heart. She put her phone away. Sat there until it got dark. She went to see Juno's parents alone. His mother was surprised, but welcomed her in. Made tea. They sat in the living room. Is everything okay? His mother asked. I wanted to ask you something, Soyeon said. Of course. When you married Juno's father, did you ever doubt it? His mother looked at her carefully. Why are you asking? I want to understand. His mother was quiet for a moment. Every marriage has doubts, she said finally. That's normal. But were you sure? About him. Eventually. What if you're never sure? His mother set down her tea. Soyeon, are you having second thoughts? I don't know. About Juno? About all of it. His mother's expression shifted. Still kind. But worried now. Juno loves you very much, she said. I know. He's a good man. I know that too. Then what's the problem? Soyeon looked at her hands. At the ring. I think, she started. Stopped. I think maybe love and rightness aren't the same thing. His mother didn't respond immediately. You're scared, she said finally. That's understandable. Marriage is a big commitment. It's not fear. Then what is it? Soyeon met her eyes. It's honesty, she said quietly. She went back to the studio. Late. After hours. She knew Kofi would be there. He was wedging clay when she arrived. He looked up. Didn't seem surprised. I can't marry him, she said. Kofi stopped working. Not because of you, she continued. Because of me. Because I've been building a life that looks right from the outside, but feels empty inside. He wiped his hands. Waited. I don't know what comes next, she said. I don't know if there's space for this. For us. I don't even know what us means. Okay. But I can't keep lying. To him. To myself. Kofi crossed the room. Stood in front of her. What do you need? He asked. I don't know. Okay. I'm terrified. I know. Everything's going to fall apart. Maybe. She looked up at him. Why aren't you trying to convince me of anything? Because this isn't about me, he said quietly. It's about you choosing yourself. Tears came. Finally. He didn't try to stop them. Just stood there. Steady. I have to end my engagement, she said. Yes. I have to tell him the truth. Yes. It's going to hurt him. Yes. She closed her eyes. And after, she asked. After, you figure out who you are without trying to fit into anyone's version of who you should be. And you. He was quiet for a moment. I'll be here, he said. For 3 more months. Then I go back to Accra. And then. I don't know. She opened her eyes. That's terrifying. It is. But it's honest. Yes. She took a breath. Then another. Okay, she said. She broke off the engagement on a Tuesday. She went to Juno's apartment in the evening. He was cooking dinner. Smiled when he saw her. You're early, he said. We need to talk. Something in her voice made him turn off the stove. They sat at his kitchen table. She told him. Not about Kofi. Not specifically. But about the space that had been growing inside her. The way she'd been editing herself. The realization that she'd been choosing safety over truth. He listened. Quiet. Hurt spreading across his face. Is there someone else? He asked. No. Are you sure? Yes. It was technically true. This wasn't about choosing Kofi over Juno. It was about choosing herself over the performance of rightness. I don't understand, Juno said. I thought we were happy. You were happy. And you weren't. I don't know. I think I was happy with the idea of being happy. He stared at her. That doesn't make sense, he said. I know. We planned everything. The wedding. The future. All of it. I know. And you're just throwing it away? I'm not throwing anything away. I'm trying to be honest. Honest, he repeated. Bitter now. You're being honest by breaking my heart? I'm sorry. That's it? You're sorry. She looked at him. This good man. This decent, stable, kind person who had never done anything wrong except be exactly who he was. You deserve someone who's sure, she said quietly. Someone who doesn't have to try so hard to love you the right way. I thought you did love me. I do. Just not the way you need. He looked away. She saw his jaw tighten. I think you should leave, he said. She stood. Slid the ring across the table. He didn't look at it. She left. Sat in her car for 20 minutes before she could drive. Her mother called 3 days later. Juno's mother told me, she said. I'm sorry I didn't call. What happened? I couldn't marry him. Why not? Because it wasn't right. Her mother was silent. He was good to you, she said finally. I know. Most women would be grateful. I'm not most women. Soyeon, you need to be practical. You're almost 30. How many opportunities like this do you think you'll get? She closed her eyes. Mom, I'm not going to marry someone just because the timing is convenient. That's not what I'm saying. Isn't it? Her mother sighed. I'm worried about you. I know. Are you making a mistake? Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. Her mother didn't call back for 2 weeks. She threw herself into work. Processed 3 new applications. Reorganized the supply inventory. Drafted next quarter's programming schedule. She didn't go to the studio. Kofi didn't come to her office. They existed in the same building. Separate. She told herself it was better this way. Space. Clarity. But at night, alone in her apartment, the one she'd been planning to move out of to live with Juno, she felt the absence of both of them. The life she'd left. The possibility she hadn't chosen. One evening, the director stopped by her office. The ceramics resident, she said. How's he doing? Fine, I think. You haven't checked in recently. He hasn't requested anything. The director gave her a long look. Make sure you're staying on top of the residencies, Soyeon. That's your primary responsibility. Of course. After she left, Soyeon sat at her desk. Stared at her calendar. She had to go back to the studio eventually. She just didn't know what she was walking toward. She went on a Saturday morning. Early. The building was quiet. Kofi was working on a large installation piece. Multiple ceramic forms arranged in a circle. Each one hollow in a different way. He looked up when she came in. Hi, she said. Hi. She walked closer. Looked at the pieces. It's about isolation, he said. How we hollow ourselves out to fit together. But the shapes don't match. She crouched down. Studied the gaps between forms. What if they're not supposed to match, she said. He looked at her. What if the point is the space between them, she continued. The almost touching. He smiled slightly. You should make something. I told you. I know what you told me. But you see things, Soyeon. You understand structure. Negative space. That's your work. Not mine. Why can't it be both? She stood up. I broke off my engagement. I know. How? You stopped wearing the ring. She looked at her hand. She'd forgotten he would notice something like that. It was the right thing, she said. Was it? I think so. I don't know. Everything feels unstable. He set down his tools. Came over to her. Instability isn't always bad, he said quietly. Sometimes it means you're finally being honest about what the structure actually is. And what if the structure can't hold? Then you build a new one. She looked at him. He was close enough that she could see the clay dust on his forearms. The tiredness around his eyes. You leave in 2 months, she said. Yes. Back to Accra. Yes. And I'm here. Yes. So, what are we doing? He reached out. Slowly. Gave her time to pull away. She didn't. He touched her face. Gentle. His thumb against her cheekbone. We're being honest, he said. For once. She closed her eyes. I'm scared, she said. Me too. I don't know what this is. Me neither. She opened her eyes. But you feel it. Yes. And you're still leaving. His hand dropped. I have a life there, he said. A studio. Students. Work I'm committed to. I know. And you have your life here. Yes. They stood there. So this is just, she started. Stopped. This is just temporary. Maybe. Maybe? He looked at her steadily. I don't know what happens after I leave. I don't know if distance erases this or makes it clearer. I don't know if you'll meet someone else or if I will or if this was just about timing and proximity. That's a lot of uncertainty. It is. And you're okay with that? No, he said quietly. But I'd rather have 2 months of honest uncertainty than years of comfortable pretending. She felt something shift in her chest. Not breaking. Aligning. Okay, she said. Okay. 2 months. Honest uncertainty. He smiled. Small. Real. What does that look like? She asked. I don't know. What do you want it to look like? She thought about it. I want to make something, she said. His expression shifted. Surprised. Pleased. Yeah. Will you teach me? Yes. She started coming to the studio 3 evenings a week. He set her up at a wheel in the corner. Showed her how to center the clay. How to apply pressure. How to trust the material. She was terrible at first. Her pieces collapsed. Her hands cramped. She got frustrated. He watched from his work table. Patient. You're trying to control it, he said one evening. That's the point, isn't it? No. The point is to guide it. There's a difference. She tried again. The clay spun off center. Breathe, he said. I am breathing. No, you're holding your breath and forcing your hands. She stopped. Looked at him. He came over. Stood behind her. Placed his hands over hers on the clay. Feel this, he said quietly. You're working with it. Not against it. His hands guided hers. Steady. Sure. The clay began to center. There, he said. You feel that? Yes. That's the conversation. He stepped back. She kept going. The clay held. She made a small bowl. Imperfect. Uneven. But hers. They fell into a rhythm. She'd arrive after work. He'd be in the middle of his own pieces. She'd set up at her wheel. They'd work in companionable silence. Sometimes they talked. About art. About fear. About the difference between loneliness and solitude. Sometimes they just existed near each other. One evening, she asked him about Accra. What's your studio like there? Smaller than this. Hotter. The kiln breaks down constantly. Do you teach? Some. Mostly I work with young artists. Help them access materials. Exhibition opportunities. You're building community. Trying to. That's beautiful. He looked at her. What about you? What would you do if you could do anything? I don't know. Yes, you do. She kept her eyes on the clay. Maybe something that helps artists. But more directly. Not just administration. Like what? I don't know. Mentorship? Connecting people? Creating space for work that doesn't fit traditional categories. You should do that. It's not practical. Why not? Because I need stability. Income. A clear path. Do you? She stopped the wheel. Looked at him. Yes, she said. Not everyone can just follow their instincts. I'm not saying quit your job tomorrow. I'm saying maybe there's room for both. Stability and instinct? Safety and truth. She thought about that. Her mother came to visit. They had lunch at a restaurant near Soyan's apartment. Awkward at first. Her mother ordered. They made small talk. Finally, are you seeing someone? Not exactly. What does that mean? It means I'm figuring things out. Her mother set down her chopsticks. Juno's mother is devastated. I know. I'm sorry. Are you? Yes. I never wanted to hurt him. But you did. Yes. Her mother was quiet. I just want you to be happy, she said finally. I know. Are you? Happy? Soyeon thought about it. Clay spinning under her hands. The quiet focus of creating something. Kofi's steady presence across the studio. I think I'm learning how to be, she said. Her mother didn't understand. Soyeon could see it in her face. But she nodded anyway. 6 weeks left. Soyeon had made 12 pieces. Small bowls. Cups. One vase that actually held water. Nothing profound. But each one taught her something. How to listen. How to yield. How to start over when something collapsed. Kofi finished his installation. The foundation scheduled a small exhibition for his final month. Soyeon helped him plan it. Sent invitations. Coordinated logistics. They were professional during meetings. Careful not to let anything show. But in the studio, late at night, they were something else. One evening, she asked him, do you ever regret leaving? 7 years ago. He considered it. I regret not saying goodbye properly. What would you have said? I don't know. Maybe just, thank you for seeing me. You could have written. Would you have wanted me to? She didn't answer. You were 22, he said. Building your career. I was leaving. It felt selfish to complicate that. And now? Now you're 29. And engaged or were. And I'm still leaving. So nothing's changed. Everything's changed. She looked at him across the studio. What are we going to do? She asked quietly. I don't know. We have 6 weeks. I know. And then he crossed the room, stood in front of her. Then we make a choice, he said. Both of us. With our eyes open. What if we choose wrong? What if we choose honestly? She reached for his hand. He let her take it. They stood there. Not kissing. Not promising anything. Just present. For weeks left. The exhibition planning intensified. Soyeon coordinated with galleries. Arranged shipping. Wrote catalog copy. She was good at it. The logistics. The structure. But for the first time, she felt the pull of something else. Not administration. Creation. She mentioned it to Kofi one evening. I think I want to teach, she said. Teach what? I don't know. Maybe workshops. How to approach art without formal training. How to start when you think you have nothing to say. You should. I don't have the credentials. You have the experience. You understand what it's like to be on the outside looking in. She thought about that. Would you come to my class? She asked. If I taught one? He smiled. In Accra. Hypothetically. Hypothetically, yes. 3 weeks left. Her sister visited. They got coffee. Sat in a park. Mom says you're doing pottery now, her sister said. Some. That's random. Maybe. Her sister studied her. You look different. How? Less perfect. In a good way. Soyeon smiled. Are you seeing someone? Her sister asked. It's complicated. Because of Juno? Because of everything. Her sister didn't push. Just drank her coffee. For what it's worth, she said finally, I think you did the right thing. Ending it with him. Really? You weren't yourself around him. You were smaller somehow. Soyeon felt tears threaten. I didn't think anyone noticed, she said. I noticed. They sat in silence. I'm scared, Soyeon said. Of what? Of choosing wrong again. Of wanting something that isn't sustainable. Of being alone. Her sister reached over. Squeezed her hand. You've been alone the whole time, she said gently. You're just finally admitting it. 2 weeks left. Kofi asked her to come to the studio on a Sunday. She arrived to find him packing pieces. Carefully wrapping each one in foam. Labeling boxes. Starting already? She asked. Trying to stay organized. She helped him wrap. They worked quietly. I'm going to miss this, she said. The studio? This. Us working. The quiet. He paused. Me too. What happens after you leave? I told you. I don't know. We should talk about it. Okay. She set down the foam. Turned to face him. I don't want to do long distance, she said. I don't think I'm built for it. He nodded slowly. Okay. And I can't leave Seoul right now. My job. My family. I'm just starting to figure out who I am here. I understand. But I don't want to pretend this didn't matter. It did matter, he said quietly. It does matter. So, what do we do? He came closer. Took her hands. We have 2 weeks, he said. We're honest. We're present. We let this be what it is without trying to force it into something it's not. And after, we carry it with us. What we learned. Who we became. That's not enough. I know. She felt tears coming. Let them. I wanted more time, she said. Me too. I wanted to know where this goes. Maybe it goes here. These months. This understanding. Maybe that's the whole arc. That's sad. It's honest. She leaned her forehead against his chest. He wrapped his arms around her. They stood like that for a long time. 1 week left. The exhibition opened. Small crowd. Gallery owners. Other artists. Foundation donors. Soyeon stood in the back. Watched people move through Kofi's work. The hollow figures. The installation about isolation and almost touching. The new pieces about absence having shape. Someone asked Kofi about his process. He answered thoughtfully. His hands moving as he talked. She watched him. Tried to memorize it. After the event, they walked back to the studio together. It went well, she said. Thanks to you. I just did logistics. No. You saw what the work needed. Same as before. They reached the studio. He unlocked the door. Come in, he said. Inside, he'd set up her wheel. One last time. Make something with me, he said. Now. Now. She sat at the wheel. He sat at his. They worked side by side. She made a cup. Simple. Smooth. Centered. He made a small hollow sphere. Imperfect. Beautiful. When they finished, they left both pieces on the shelf to dry. Will you fire them? She asked. Do you want me to? I want them to be real. Even if I never see them again. Okay. They cleaned up. Washed their hands. At the door, she turned to him. I'm in love with you, she said. He went still. I need you to know that, she continued. Before you go. I'm in love with you. Not because you're leaving. Not because of timing. Just because. He stepped closer. I'm in love with you too, he said quietly. I know. Does it change anything? No. No. You're still leaving. I'm still staying. Love doesn't fix logistics. He smiled sadly. No. It doesn't. But I needed to say it. I'm glad you did. He kissed her then. Gentle. Deliberate. Like he was memorizing her. She kissed him back. When they pulled apart, she touched his face. I'm going to miss you, she said. I'm going to miss you too. 3 days left. She helped him ship the last of his work. Drove him to the logistics company. Watched him fill out customs forms. They got dinner after. A small restaurant. Quiet. Have you thought about what you'll do? He asked. After I leave? Keep working. Maybe start a workshop. See where that goes. You should. What about you? Back to the studio. There's a group show in Cape Town I'm part of. After that, I don't know. You'll make beautiful things. So will you. They ate slowly, making it last. I wish I'd met you now, she said. Not 7 years ago. Not during a residency with an end date. Just now. In regular life. Would it have been different? Maybe. Or maybe this is exactly what we needed. Something that doesn't ask us to compromise. Just to be honest for as long as we can. He reached across the table. She took his hand. Thank you, he said. For what? For being brave. For breaking your engagement. For being honest even when it was terrifying. I didn't do it for you. I know. That's why it matters. Last day. His flight left in the evening. Soyeon took the afternoon off. Met him at the studio one final time. The space was empty now. Just bare work tables. Clean shelves. Feels different, she said. Yeah. They stood in the center of the room. I fired your pieces, he said. The cup you made. It turned out beautifully. Where is it? I packed it. I'm taking it with me. You don't have to. I want to. She nodded. Tried not to cry. I left something for you, he said. On the shelf in the back. She walked over. Found a small ceramic form. Hollow. But shaped like 2 hands almost touching. She picked it up carefully. It's about the space between, he said. What almost was. What maybe still is. She turned to him. Tears falling now. I love you, she said. I love you too. This is terrible. I know. I hate this. Me too. She crossed the room. He held her. She let herself cry against his chest. Will you call? She asked. Do you want me to? I don't know. Maybe at first it should be quiet. Let us both adjust. And after? After we'll see. He kissed her forehead. We'll see. She drove him to the airport. Helped him check in. Walked him to security. They stood facing each other. This is it, she said. Yeah. Safe travels. Take care of yourself. You too. He touched her face one last time. Then he walked through security. She watched until he disappeared. Stood there for another 10 minutes. Just in case he came back. He didn't. She walked to her car. Sat in the driver's seat. Cried for 20 minutes. Then she drove home. 2 months later. Soyeon taught her first workshop. 8 students. All beginners. All convinced they had nothing to say. She taught them about clay. About listening. About the conversation between intention and material. One student made a bowl that collapsed. She started crying. Soyeon sat next to her. "It's okay," she said. "Start again. I'll just ruin it again. Maybe, but you'll learn something different each time." The student looked at her. "How do you know when you're making the right thing?" Soyeon thought about hollow forms, about absence having shape, about love and logistics and choices that cost everything. "You don't," she said. "You just stay honest with the material. The rest reveals itself." After class, she went home to her apartment, made tea, sat by the window. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. She opened it. A photo. Her cup. The one she'd made. Sitting on a shelf in what looked like a sunlit studio. Below it, asterisk, "This is on my shelf. Reminder of what honesty looks like, asterisk." She smiled. Tears in her eyes. Typed back, asterisk, "I have your piece too." The almost touching hands, asterisk. 3 dots. Then, "Good." Another pause. Then, "How are you?" She looked around her apartment. At the small ceramics scattered on her shelves. At the workshop materials on her table. At the life she was building without knowing exactly where it led. "I'm figuring it out," she wrote. "How are you?" "Same." She waited to see if he'd say more. He didn't. She didn't either. But the conversation was there. Open. Honest. Unresolved. She set down her phone. Looked at the ceramic hands on her shelf. The space between them. The almost. And she understood something she hadn't before. Some love doesn't arrive to be captured. It arrives to teach you what you're capable of choosing. Even when it costs you everything safe. Even when it doesn't promise forever. Even when all it leaves you with is yourself and the knowledge that you are finally, terrifyingly honest. She picked up the ceramic piece, traced the hollow space with her finger, and knew that whatever came next, whether Kofi became part of it or remained a beautiful, brief chapter, she would never again choose safety over truth. The space between almost touching was where she learned to exist. And that was enough. Thank you for staying with the story. If quiet love stories like this matter to you, AFROSEOUL Hearts will always be here. You're welcome to stay.